Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we dive into a bold and controversial proposal that could shake the very foundations of South Africa's legal system. Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe party, also known as the MK Party, is demanding immediate lifestyle audits and mandatory asset declarations for all judges, from those seated in the Constitutional Court to magistrates in local jurisdictions. It's a move that strikes at the heart of judicial power, raising deep questions about transparency, political accountability, and the future of South Africa's democracy. According to the MK Party, the judiciary must be held to the same level of scrutiny as politicians and public servants. They argue that if elected officials are subjected to lifestyle audits, asset declarations, and public accountability, then there's no reason why judges should be exempt. For them, this is not about undermining the judiciary, it's about making it stronger, more transparent, and free from the perception of bias or corruption. But this push for judicial transparency does not come in a vacuum. It follows years of tension between Zuma, his allies, and certain sections of the legal system. Zuma has long alleged that elements within the judiciary are politically compromised and that some judges have been weaponized to settle political scores, especially in cases involving him and his supporters. In this context, the MK Party's proposal lands as both a political grenade and a public appeal for systemic reform. They insist this is about restoring public trust in the courts. In a country where faith in political institutions has already been eroded by years of corruption scandals, state capture revelations, and factional warfare, the courts have remained one of the last trusted institutions. But even the judiciary is now under scrutiny. The MK Party argues that without transparency, even the courts risk losing legitimacy. Their plan: to push for legislative reforms that would mandate annual lifestyle audits of judges, as well as the public declaration of assets and financial interests. This would apply across the board, no exceptions for seniority or court level. Constitutional Court judges, Supreme Court of Appeal judges, High Court judges, magistrates, all would have to comply. Currently, South African judges are only required to declare their financial interests to the Registrar of Judges. These declarations are not made public, and there is no independent audit to verify the information submitted. The MK Party believes this system is inadequate, allowing potential conflicts of interest or corrupt dealings to go unchecked. They say it's time to lift the veil of secrecy. Critics, however, are sounding alarm bells. Legal experts have expressed concern that the MK Party's proposal may be less about transparency and more about political retaliation. Some argue that this move risks undermining judicial independence by placing judges under political pressure. There's also the question of separation of powers. Can Parliament enforce audits on the judiciary without compromising the very principle of judicial independence? Others point out that in many democracies, judicial transparency is handled delicately. While asset declarations and ethics codes are common, lifestyle audits are typically reserved for cases where there's suspicion of misconduct. Making such audits mandatory across the board could set a dangerous precedent, especially if done in a politically charged environment. Still, some legal scholars have cautiously welcomed the conversation. They argue that public trust in the judiciary must be earned, not assumed. In recent years, even the judiciary has not been immune from controversy. There have been accusations, though rare, of judges allegedly accepting bribes, having undisclosed business interests, or improperly engaging with political actors. While most judges serve with integrity, the few bad apples can poison the whole institution. The MK Party is tapping into a sentiment that's quietly growing among ordinary South Africans, a desire for accountability at all levels. The people are tired of corruption scandals. They're tired of seeing the rich and powerful escape justice while the poor face the full might of the law. And when high-profile figures claim judicial bias or manipulation, it shakes confidence in the entire system. Zuma's supporters have often pointed to court rulings they see as politically motivated, from the Constitutional Court's decision to sentence Zuma to jail for contempt, to various other legal setbacks the former president has faced. Whether or not these claims are valid, the perception of unfairness is enough to inflame public opinion, and that's dangerous in any democracy. The MK party says their proposal is a safeguard, not an attack. They want judges to be beyond reproach. They argue that if judges are truly impartial, they should welcome lifestyle audits to prove it. And if they have nothing to hide, then what's the problem? This proposal also echoes a broader global debate. Around the world, calls for judicial transparency have increased. In countries like India, Brazil, and even the United States, there have been movements pushing for public disclosure of judges' financial interests, recusal procedures, and accountability frameworks. In this light, the MK party is not entirely out of step with international trends, but the context in South Africa is far more volatile. The Office of the Chief Justice has yet to officially respond to the MK party's demands. But the silence may not last long. As pressure builds and the media spotlight intensifies, the judiciary may have to take a public stance. Whether that leads to voluntary reform or confrontation remains to be seen. For now, the MK party appears committed to pushing this agenda through Parliament. They believe this is not just a party issue, but a national imperative. Judicial power, they argue, must come with judicial accountability. And in a democracy still healing from the wounds of state capture and elite impunity, the courts cannot be above scrutiny. This could turn into one of the most significant debates of the next parliamentary session. If the MK party gains more traction, or even finds allies in other opposition parties, they could force a national conversation on how to balance judicial independence with transparency. And in doing so, they may reshape the relationship between law, politics, and public accountability in South Africa. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments, do you think lifestyle audits for judges are a necessary tool for transparency, or a dangerous political weapon? Don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into South Africa's most important political developments. See you next time.